has started.
Very good morning to all the esteemed members. Wishing you all a very happy day to each and every one of you. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all to the GST Day webinar, which is being organized by your esteemed institute on the theme GST, Journey of 5 Years and the Way Forward. Today we have amongst us a very highly distinguished panelist comprising of CS Bimal Jain, Chairman of the Indirect Tax Committee, Chartered Accountant Jatin Harjaria ji, and our own esteemed member CS Sanjay Malhotra ji, who is practicing on the indirect tax mode. I also take this opportunity to welcome each and every esteemed members of our fraternity, and on this occasion I would like to extend a very warm greeting to all the chartered accountants, all the company secretary and chartered accountants who are present over here for attending the GST Day. It is indeed a very proud moment for each and every one of us when we are having this particular program. Friends, Gandhiji had once said, "The future depends upon what you do today." His words truly amplify the government's intention of introduction of GST in the year 2017 as a futuristic tax reform that has helped India achieve the much awaited one nation, one tax regime. GST is truly a game changer for Indian economy as it has replaced multi-layered complex indirect tax structure with a simple, transparent and technology-driven tax regime. The introduction of the GST is a very crucial step in the field of indirect tax reform in India by merging a large number of central and state taxes into a single tax. For the end customer, the GST is beneficial in terms of reduction in the overall tax burden on goods and services. GST has integrated India into a single common market by breaking barriers to interstate trade and commerce, by eliminating cascading of taxes and reducing the transaction costs. It has enhanced ease of doing business. Evident changes have been made in the way business is conducted, taxes paid, and reports and return submitted in the post-GST era. Introduction of GST has also made Indian products competitive in the domestic and in the international markets. GST, because of its transparent character and easier administration, holds greater promise in terms of sustaining growth for the Indian economy. Friends, the last 5 years of GST have seen many policy changes along with the procedural and technology overhauls, some of which have completely changed the face of tax system, such as e-invoice, e-way bill, reconciliation of input tax credit with vendor GST filings, rate rationalization, and many more. During the last 5 years of the GST, the government has been proactive in issuing notices, circulars, clarification, and orders. The government has been paying attention to the concerns of the stakeholders by streamlining required processes to avoid the unnecessary pileup of litigation and unending disputes. It is expected that in coming years, the government will also bring changes in the taxpayers' compliance and ensure a more simplified and smooth GST structure for all its stakeholders. Friends, it is an endeavor to perfect the role of India's GST partner. ICSI has launched many initiatives with respect to GST like GST newsletters, GST educational series, GST corner under Chartered Secretary, webinar on GST, and many more. Preparation of representations, suggestions, and views to the regulators from time to time to seek suitable recognition for members under the GST. GST certainly is going to be a game changer in coming years, and this law will open up many opportunities for the country and will certainly be helpful to boost the economy. GSTS Council has resolved various contentious issues being faced by the taxpayers on the procedural as well as on the statutory front, and has issued timely notification and clarification considered the COVID-19 pandemic to the provide relief to the tax relief to the shareholders and stakeholders. Friends, if you see the GST revenue contributions or collections in the financial year 2017-18, 7,19,078 crores were collected in the year 2017-2018. In the year 2018-19, you will find it increased to 11,77,370 crores of collection. In the financial year 19-20, again it rose to 12,22,117 crores. In financial year 2020 and 21, it came down to small extent from 12,22,117 crores to 11,36,803 crores because of the COVID situation. I am sure that once the pandemic is going to end, you will find the collection in the GST would raise leaps and bounds. Friends, I would like to compliment the agility with which the GST law was tweaked to address the problems that were not foreseen at inception. India's taxpayer should focus on GST processes so as to adhere to the rules and regulation. I would close with the words of Honorable Prime Minister who said, and I quote, GST is a landmark achievement which is bound to take the nation towards exponential growth. In this context, we have the esteemed panelists present over here, Shri Bimal Jain ji, Shri Jatin Harjia ji, Shri Sanjay Malhotra ji, who are present to speak about the various aspects of GST in terms of the latest developments which have taken place, in terms of what are the various adjudication processes, as well as the procedures and the appeals thereon. And also, we would like to hear on the right from the day one as to how the GST had come into being and the way forward in terms of the GST and various opportunity to all the professionals present over here. So I take this opportunity in once again welcoming all the esteemed panelists as well as all the esteemed members and our secretariat to this GST Day, GST webinar. Friends, let me just introduce the first speaker for the day, CS Bimal Jain. CS Bimal Jain is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and also the Chartered Accountant of India and a law graduate. He is presently the Managing Director of A to Z Tax Corp LLP. He is also the Chairman of the Indirect Tax Committee of PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and member of various committee. He is qualified SAP FIICO consultant and has more than 21 years of experience in indirect taxation and specialization in all aspects of GST, excise, service tax, VAT, central sales tax, customs, foreign trade policy, special economic zone, EOU, and various other aspects. He is author of the book entitled GST Law and Commentary with Analysis and Procedure. He has also worked towards spreading awareness and knowledge about GST by writing articles, books, and publishing various videos on topical interest. Before I request Bimal Jain ji, let me tell all the esteemed members that in spite of being a high-profile professional, CS Bimal Jain, at any point of time you call for the sake of the institute, whether to represent before the Ministry of Corporate Affairs or before any other authority in terms of sharing the knowledge as to the impact. The much more I could remember is of the corporate social responsibility, that what are the various aspects which ministry may face, and on that aspect Bimal Jain had represented ICSI to the various authorities. Sir, thank you very much. I am sure that you are going to contribute much more, and whenever ICSI requests you, you are always available at our disposal. I would now request CS Bimal Jain ji to kindly take it forward. I would request your brief introduction and over to you for 30 minutes, please. Thank you.
At the outset, let me thank Sri Nagind Kumar ji, former President ICSI, to my two colleagues, Sri Jatin Harjai ji, Sri Sanjay Malhotra ji, all distinguished members pan-India joining on this GST Day celebration by ICSI, a proud moment for all of us together. And just to recall and to let you know, to each one of you, ICSI has got Guinness World Record for largest taxation class, and wherein I was privileged as a keynote speaker. So I'm recalling the day when we got Guinness World Record for ICSI, beating the record of Japan. And I was fortunate enough as a keynote speaker in that largest taxation class. GST Day we are celebrating as a company secretary. We are known as a legal and secretarial personnel. That's what the normal phenomenon in the market. But let me tell you, the things are changing and moving. We need to get into other different areas also, and opportunity exists. We have to grasp those opportunities for our future growth and development. Today we are going to discuss journey of 5 years of GST, yes, no doubt about it. And I'm being asked that I should also give important highlight of 47 GST Council meeting held on 28 and 29 June at Chandigarh. To start with GST, the first and foremost question, everyone would be asking why GST got introduced in India. I can tell you 4 important regions, and those important regions are backbone why GST got introduced in India. In pre-GST era, we were having multiplicity of taxes, either levied by central government or state government. Around 17 indirect taxes and 23 cess merging into one basket. Advantage number 1. Our compliances got eased down. Second, double taxation. In pre-GST era, you would be knowing certain transactions were chargeable to both taxation, service tax and VAT, sometime excise and service tax as well. To give you some of the example, restaurant services, let's say 1,000 rupees, pre-GST era, we were paying VAT on 1,000 rupees, and on 40% of 1,000 rupees, we were paying service tax also. Construction services, works contract services, and software, ERP. Nagenji coming from the Bangalore, so that is the IT software. And this IT ERP which we are talking about, software chargeable to both VAT and service tax. On same transaction we were charging VAT and service tax. GST has provided a clarity. A transaction can either be supply of goods or supply of services by way of Schedule 2 in CGST Act. Third, cascading of taxes, tax on tax. Whenever there is tax on tax, it adds to our costing, and thereby we become incompetitive. So GST has provided a certain level of cascading gone in GST, like central excise charged by a manufacturer to a VAT dealer, no credit in the hands of VAT dealer. VAT dealer was charging VAT to a company secretary, maybe you were purchasing laptop, and VAT dealer was charging VAT on that laptop. Credit was not available for you for the VAT charged by a VAT dealer. Or you were charging service tax in pre-GST era to a VAT dealer, no credit in the hands of VAT dealer for the service tax charged by a tax professional, and lot many other taxes, entry tax, octroi, CST, credit was not available. To certain extent, this cascading has gone. Undoubtedly on 2 broad parameters, and which we are representing to the government of India as well, to center and state both together, we are saying 5 specified petroleum products are kept out of GST, and we are paying pre-GST taxes, of which no credit available. And these specified petroleum products are used in manufacturing sector and service sector and trading sector altogether. Credit is not available. Cascading is continuing. The cascading is continuing because within the GST law, and this is what we all are asking and requesting GST Council, when GST law got introduced, they have said there would be seamless flow of credit. That was the object clause. But what happened? Under section 17 subsection 5 of CGST Act, they have brought the concept of negative list, block credit concept. Even though you're paying GST on input and input services in the course of furtherance of business, but still credit is not available. That is also creating cascading. An example could be you're getting your office constructed, factory constructed, hotel constructed, mall constructed, no credit. You're going to use such, factory, office, hotel and mall for the provision of taxable outward supply, but no credit. And CSR, which is being referred, corporate social responsibility, is a statutory obligation. We are incurring such expenditure in the course of furtherance of business. Why credit will not be available and why something to be disputed under section 17 subsection 5 clause H, like free gift or sample? I'm not giving free gift. It's statutory obligation on me, and that too in the course of furtherance of business. Why credit would be denied for CSR expenditure? So those are the pointers. 17 subsection 5 creating cascading also in the system because credit is not available. But realistic advantage, I must say and compliment. GST has become one nation, one tax, one market. In pre-GST era, you must have seen, if I'm in NCR region, then Delhi VAT applicable and Delhi VAT was not applicable just 10 kilometers away in Gurgaon. Haryana VAT was applicable. Haryana VAT was not applicable in Noida. UP VAT was applicable. And we were divided into state barrier within the Union Territory of India. And apart from that language barrier, now our former president of ICSI coming from southern part, I may not be knowing Kerala language or Tamil Nadu language or Karnataka language. But GST law, I'm privileged to say, is a Gita, Bible and Quran. Irrespective of any language, religion, race and caste, applicable same from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, creating one market for all of us together. And that is what ease of business. Compliances has eased down. Things are getting automized. Lot of hassles which was there in a VAT regime has gone in GST regime, giving advantage to all of us together. So these are the advantages. Of course, evolution, you can say, GST evolution, and provided the ease of business to all of us together, taxpayer and to the tax professional. Now, what are the challenges we are finding? I will touch base 3-4 important points. These are the challenges in GST. So challenges are, and we are giving constructive, suggestion to the government. Maybe central and maybe state, they have to come together in GST council and listen to the voice of taxpayer. Because ultimately each of business was ensured in GST, and GST tagline is a good and simple tax. Let me take the first example. There are two pillars in any taxation system. One is called outward supply, on which we discharge the GST liability. And one aspect is your purchase of input services and capital goods. So whatever GST paid on your purchase, credit should be available. So on outward supply, yes, taxability exists, no denial to it, but still I can tell you, within the law framework, the term supply the taxable event in GST. Supply is the taxable event in GST, but the way term supply is being defined, it is really, I'm telling you, going to have many litigation in time to come. One example I'm just drawing before you and to let you know that the way law is being formulated, implemented, and over a period of time getting amended, it is not having synchronization. Take one example. Let's say you are registered in Delhi, and you can answer in a chat box so that you get a certainty for yourself whether answer given by you on a point raised by me is right or wrong. So I'm registered in Delhi under GST. I got one customer from US, and he wanted to have certain supply of goods at the US. So I could have supplied from India. Instead of supplying from India, what I did, I have found out one vendor, supplier at South Korea. So I asked this vendor, supplier at South Korea to supply directly to my customer at US. So that two entry would be coming in my PL account. First, there would be purchase from the South Korean vendor, let's say $100. And you can answer in a chat box whether GST leviable on that purchase of $100. And answer is no GST, no custom duty, because goods are not entering into custom frontier of India. Now on credit side of PL account, you have $120 revenue coming from your US customer. GST leviable. I'm just posting these query which you may reply by yourself and check it out. GST not leviable. Because this particular entry, supply of goods from non-taxable territory, Korea, to another non-taxable territory, US, is neither a supply of goods nor supply of services. But this entry got added by way of amendment in Schedule 3 with effect from 1st of February 2019. So what the tax officials are trying to do, they're saying this entry got added from 1st February 2019, hence prior to that this is chargeable to GST. Now just imagine a situation. If that is the way these tax officials will read the law, then litigation is happening and it will grow in time to come. It is not chargeable to GST. It is neither a supply of goods nor supply of services. And for the information, IGST, which is integrated GST, applicable only on whole of India. It can't be applied for a transaction outside India. But litigation, they're only saying it got amended from 1st February 2019, and that is what advance rulings are coming in. And advance ruling authority, you know, the two officers from central and state sitting together and deciding the advance ruling. And we have seen in advance ruling, we are not getting any kind of, clarity for which any taxpayer is moving to the advance ruling authority. Advance ruling should have given the judgment and ruling in a way that this would avoid any dispute, any confusion. But things are not happening in a way. Having said that, where we are heading for? Now, different state advance ruling giving different kind of judgment and ruling, creating contradiction, and that is not easing out the business. The kind of good and simple tax tagline is not coming out. One part I said. Another part, and which you will all agree with me, that why litigation going on and who has created this litigation? It is the taxpayer or it's the tax department or the legislator. I'm finding GST was the biggest indirect tax reform. It is beyond the tax reform, I must say. It is complementing to our GDP growth. It can add value to nation development as well, provided we really implement GST law in a true spirit. That's what we all are looking for. Let me take another example, and this is a very important example. For availing credit on your purchase, there should be simple system, right? That credit is available. When you purchase, you get the credit. But if you go to GST law, the kind of provision for availing credit is there in GST law, it's mind-boggling. There are so many provisions which you have to cross-check and verify before availing credit. You have to check section 16, subsection 2. First, condition need to be satisfied. Then you need to check 17, subsection 5, that it should not fall under block credit. Then you have to go back to rule 42, 43 for reversal of credit. A lot many, if and buts for availing credit. And this is again creating a problem. And I'm telling you in true sense that a lot of taxpayers are saying to the government that kindly ease this availing credit mechanism as well. Let me take another example that this ease is not coming out and matters are going up to the Supreme Court. That is not envisaged in GST, right? So Example is, you are a taxpayer, you are availing credit in your GSTR 3B. For availing credit, what you do normally, you are tax professional also, because you may be registered under GST and availing credit. So what you look at before availing credit, you look at the 4 condition, which is being prescribed under section 16 subsection 2. What are those 4 conditions? You should have tax invoice, you must have received goods and services, your supplier must have paid taxes, and being recipient, you are regularly filing GST return. Am I right? Is there any reference of that credit must be auto-populated and cross-checked with GSTR 2A? Is there any reference within the provision of the law? There is no reference. Very first time this provision got amended, and they have included 5th condition only from 1st January 2022. And from 1st January 2022, they are saying credit need to be checked with GSTR 2B. But there is no reference of GSTR 2A. But what department is doing, they are sending scrutiny notices, so-cause notices. Whatever credit availed in GSTR 3B, if it is not matching with GSTR 2A, they are sending scrutiny notices. Now let me ask this question to all of you once again. I'm your supplier, assume I'm your supplier, and you all are my buyer. So when I'm filing my GSTR1, I have wrongly furnished GST number. I have not filled up the correct GST number. Is it going to be auto-populated in your GSTR2A? And where is your fault? You have tax invoice copy. You have received the goods and services. Your supplier have paid the taxes through 3B, but only thing which I did wrong, I have wrongly furnished the GST number. Maybe B2B supply captured as a B2C. Supplier's fault. Maybe interstate supply Delhi to Maharashtra, I have wrongly captured as an intrastate. Supplier's fault. And maybe a case I have filed GSTR 3B but did not file GSTR 1, hence not coming in your 2A. What happened? Credit is not available? Whether my credit is really dependent on GSTR 2A? My humble submission, no. My credit is not dependent on GSTR 2A. I need to only cross-check that I'm satisfying 4 conditions or not. And for that, we have to go back to the Supreme Court. See, 5 years of journey to decide the simple methodology for availing credit. Why somebody has to go to the Supreme Court? And recent case is Bharti Airtel. And Honorable Supreme Court, fact of the case, watch. In Bharti Airtel, what happened? For the period July 17 to September 17, Bharti Airtel had paid the liability through cash. They have not availed the credit. Reason was why they did not avail the credit, because GSTR 2A was not available for July 17 to September 17. And we all know GSTR 2A came sometime October 2018 onwards. So that time 2A was not available. Bharti Airtel could not get, correct picture of credit available to them. So they paid the liability 930 crore. 930 crore they paid through cash. So what happened when this GSTR 2A came sometime in October 2018? They found that they were having enough credit for that July 17 to September 17. So what they did, they have gone to Delhi High Court. And why they have gone to Delhi High Court? Because GSTR 3B cannot be revised. You cannot amend your GSTR 3B. They have gone to Delhi High Court and pleaded before the court, my lord, that for July 17 to September 17, I was having enough credit and I could have used my credit for discharging the output tax. But since 2A was not available, we are not knowing how much credit is available to us. So in this given situation, kindly allow that we can amend our GSTR 3B. We can amend our GSTR 3B so that we can pay through credit which was available to us, and whatever we have paid through cash must be refunded back to us. Honorable Delhi High Court has said, yes, you amend your GSTR 3B and take refund of 930 crore. Matter gone to Supreme Court. And what Honorable Supreme Court is saying, listen very carefully. Honorable Supreme Court is saying, Mr. Bharti Airtel, GST is a self-assessment tax. Credit you could have availed as per section 16 subsection 2. Who stopped you? And why you were waiting for GSTR 2A? It is only facilitation given to you. It is not a condition as per section 16 subsection 2. That is Honorable Supreme Court is saying. If that is the case, then why department is issuing notices to us for credit matching with GSTR 2A? So that's what I'm saying, that things are not properly going in synchronization. Things are not happening in that way. When I'm talking about GSTR 3B, I'm taking two recommendation of GST Council, which they have decided in 47 GST Council meeting. We were hearing that GST Council may allow that GSTR 3B can be amended, can be revised. That's the news was coming in. But there's no such news pertaining to amendment of GSTR 3B. Yes, practical problem. We make sometime mistake, clerical mistake, and there's no window available for the revision of GSTR 3B. We can't revise the same. So what GST Council has said, so they're not giving window for the revision of GSTR 3B, but now they're saying we will invite suggestion from the trade, from the stakeholders, whether this GSTR 3B can be amended. If amended, what should be the wage and means? What should be the condition, control and check? That's what they're saying. Another recommendation which they have said in GSTR 3B, and before I say to you, let me ask you, I do not know how many of you are doing really GST practice, but being company secretary, you are signing the balance sheet as a company secretary. Just think of a situation when you're signing balance sheet PL account as a company secretary. What is the accountability and responsibility we are having on our soldier? Sometimes we are giving secretarial certificate, legal compliances certificate. How we are checking out these GST compliances. And for GST, you must be hearing a lot of tax professionals are being arrested. And they are being tagged, they are being stated that they are in connivance with the taxpayer. They are causing, they are helping to the taxpayer for the tax evasion. So we have to really get prepared. Let me first finish the second proposal, which is being given by GST Council in 47 GST Council meeting. In your GSTR 3B, you must capture your interstate supply. Must capture. Why they're saying that you must capture your interstate supply? Reason is very simple, that GST is a destination-based consumption tax. When you're capturing interstate supply, then the SGST component of IGST will accrue to a consuming state. But where the problem lies? Why GST Council has to say all this thing? Live case study. In case of B2C supply, let's say you are from Maharashtra and you're not registered. You're coming to Delhi to purchase sari. So you're coming to Delhi to purchase a sari. So you are unregistered, but your supplier, my sari shop, I'm registered. It's B2C transaction, counter sell. So B2C is a intrastate or interstate. You will find lot many of us are treating the transaction as an intrastate. Whereas, as per GST law, if I read Rule 46 Sub-Rule E of CGST rule, where taxable value is more than 50,000, it is interstate supply. As a supplier, I need to capture name and address and delivery for you for Mumbai. I need to mention state name and code Mumbai, Maharashtra, so that this transaction become interstate, and GST being destination-based consumption tax must accrue to the consuming state. That's the reason they're saying we need to capture interstate supply. And there may be a case that you may not have treated the transaction correctly. You may have treated intrastate, charge CGST and Delhi SGST, but now this is as per the provision interstate. What happened? You need to pay correct tax, IGST. you need to pay correct tax. Fortunate part, no interest would be demanded. No interest would be demanded. So what happened, CGST and SGST wrongly you have paid? For that they are saying you have to go for refund. So it's a preparation. And then this recommendation is saying while filing GSTR 3B, you must capture your ineligible credit as well. Ineligible credit or block credit under section 17 subsection 5. Having said that, let me take up certain important highlight of 47 GST Council meeting. I was asked that I should narrate some of the important point to all of you. So related to us, sometime we are taking renting of immovable property, residential property. Companies are taking residential property for residence of director or employee consent. So renting of residential property for dwelling purpose, residential purpose was exempted. But as per the recent recommendation, renting of immovable property, residential property for dwelling purpose to registered business entity, this exemption will not be available. GST going to be leviable even though it is used for residence purpose by director or employee of that company. Take next example, some laudable example also. What they are saying and referring now, there are two subject matter. Electric vehicle with the battery or without battery pack. They are now clarifying, and why they are clarifying? There are contrary advance ruling judgment. And for that reason, litigation has started. Matter has gone to the High Court. But fortunate part, GST Council has said electric vehicle with or without battery pack will be chargeable concessional rate 5%. 5%. Good one. Another laudable one which is being recommended, that the development of plot. So sometime you're developing the plot, so leveling the plot, putting the drainage system, water system, and then you're selling the plot. Whether that is chargeable to GST because you're ultimately developing the plot. Fortunate part, and we were saying in the past continuously, it is sale of land. Just basic amenities got added in the land and it's a part and parcel of immovable property. Sale of land is neither a supply of goods nor supply of services. No GST leviable. Fortunately, they have heard and they have allowed accordingly. Now going further, which is important one, which you must take a note. There are certain suppliers supplying through e-commerce operator, right? There's compulsory registration provision. But in this GST Council meeting, they have recommended if supplier supplying through e-commerce operator, then he would be having a benefit. He would be having advantage of looking his threshold aggregate turnover. That may be 40 lakh rupees. And they're putting a condition he should not be engaged in interstate supply. Now, please try to understand. Any vendor, supplier, supplying through e-commerce operator, Amazon, Flipkart, whether he will not be engaged in interstate. So some recommendation which is being made, but practically is not being understood what is happening. Any supplier, vendor supplying through e-commerce operator, I'm damn sure that they must be engaged in some of the interstate supply. So they can't take the advantage. Even for the composition scheme, they have said they will devise the composition scheme for such supplier, vendor through e-commerce operator. And that is going to be effective from 1st of January 2023. But problem is, he will not be engaged in interstate supply. How come? Then these two recommendations, which we are saying so, so loudly that we are giving benefit to the vendor and supplier through e-commerce operator, to my mind, realistic benefit is not coming. Going further, if I move, then there are two components which is a very much interesting one, and which you must take a note of it.
Sir, last 2 minutes.
Last 2 minutes?
Yes.
All right, not an issue. Then allow me 2-3 minutes to sum up and conclude. If you are an exporter and you are exporting and you are taking refund of zero rated under section 54 and 55, the important recommendation and which you can take the advantage. What is that advantage I'm referring to? Listen very carefully. That there's 2 years time limit, period limitation for filing refund claim under section 54 and 55. They are saying a period starting from 1st March 2020 to 28th of February 2022 will be excluded for calculation of period of limitation for filing the refund claim by the taxpayer under section 54 and 55. This is the advantage, and similar benefit is being given to the taxpayer for demand and order under section 54 and 55. That's one point. Another aspect which you would be looking for, sometime you're exporter and you have taken some refund, maybe IGST refund or maybe refund of ITC, but subsequently it is being held it is erroneous refund. Then if it is held erroneous refund and you agree it is erroneous refund, you are repaying back to the government. So when you are repaying back to the government, question comes, the e-credit ledger which you have used, which was debited at the time of filing refund claim, should be recredited automatically, right? Should be recredited. But there was no mechanism available. Fortunate part, GST Council has decided that this recredit will be happening through a form PMT 03A. So these are the important highlights which I gave to you. Time is the constraint. Let me take 1 or 2 minutes, then conclude myself. If we look at GST as on date, we started with a journey and discuss everything. My take on GST would be, it's the biggest indirect tax reform. Biggest. It is beyond the tax reform. Created one nation, one market. Now we need not require to have warehouse in all the state, which was the case in pre-GST era. We can do our business as per our business planning as we want to do that. So things are getting, simplified. Each open market is coming up, but what are the way forward challenges which government must look into? They must try to make GST law simple. 1100 plus changes has happened in GST law since introduction of GST. This is required little bit their introspection. These many changes, so frequent changes, is not providing certainty and clarity. Second aspect, handholding. When changes are happening, we are expecting from the government, they must come and provide the handholding. Yes, they are doing, but they have to really make it little more to provide real benefit to all of us together. Two things, advanced ruling, contrary, but national level advanced ruling authority is not being formed. GST tribunal is not being formed. 5 years gone, and a lot of litigation are directly going to the High Court only. And then Supreme Court, we are finding so many judgments coming from Supreme Court only on GST because GST tribunal is not there. So challenges are there, but together we will make difference. So even tax professional, taxpayer has to go together with the department so that central and state, those who are implementing GST law, if really we will walk the talk in realistic sense, implement GST in true spirit, then I'm sure GST is again telling you good and simple tax. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bimal Jain ji. As you rightly said, though I will be concluding in the vote of thanks, together we will make a difference. I am sure that the challenges what you posed, we will also be making an appropriate representation, of course with the help of you, in order to ensure our representation is made in order to make really the good and simple tax. Friends, let us now move to the second panelist, our own Jatin Harjaiya ji. Shri Jatin Harjaiya ji is a law graduate and chartered accountant. He is practicing advocate at present. He is practiced as a chartered accountant for more than 15 years. before starting legal practice. He is a guest faculty on various educational, professional, and industrial platforms and shared his views on VAT, CST, entry tax, works tax, and GST. Apart from India, he shared his knowledge in international seminars, workshops at UAE, Thailand, and Tashkent. He has authored many articles on indirect taxes, which were published in leading taxes journals and contributed in many publications of ICAI on GST and UAE VAT. He is accredited trainer of NACIN, National Academy of Customs and Indirect Taxes, Government of India, for GST training to be provided to trade and industry as well as GST officers of the central government. With this brief introduction, may I request our Jatinji to kindly highlight on the various aspects and way forward, as well as what are the various adjudication process procedures and various judgments which will enlighten all our esteemed members present over here. Over to you, Jatinji.
Thank you, Nagenji, Bimalji, Malhotraji, all the members, viewers. A very good morning to all of you, and very happy GST Day. Once Bimalji has covered in his last maybe approximately 30 minutes time, I must say that most of the things he has already covered, highlighted points. But I am a firm believer that whenever we are going to examine or reviewing anything, we should always review the same with what were the objectives. What are the major objectives of implementing GST? Has already been covered by Bimalji. I will not deliberate upon them. But there are some things which were not the stated objectives. I think I should touch upon them definitely. Number one, if you recollect, when the GST was getting implemented, many a time, then Finance Minister Mr. Arun Jaitley referred this one aspect that retrospective amendments loses the credential of the, if retrospective amendments are there in the tax laws, then investor gets scared and image of the country gets diluted. You can search out on Google, at so many platforms, his this kind of a speech will be there. So I think we should check this aspect again. And when this new law has been implemented, which Vimalji said that it is not only a tax reform, it is rather a more business reform. I agree with him. But whether retrospective amendment should be there or not, because whatever business was there, a businessman, a company has taken their tax positions, taken position in their routine affairs 3 years, 4 years ago. Keeping the law of that day in mind. They were not aware that government will come up after 3 years or 4 years times and then will make a change in the law with that of retrospective effect. And it cannot be expected by anyone. So first thing, I believe if I see the journey of 5 years, then I see that this retrospective amendments are coming in the GST, which I believe is not a healthy practice. Second aspect, stability in the tax laws. If we read literature on any of the tax administration, in fact, if you refer a documentary which was presented by the International Monetary Fund on how the tax law should be implemented in the developing countries more specifically, they specifically said that any tax laws should be stable in the country, stable and transparent. Now the kind of amendments we are having in the GST, can we say that the GST law is stable? Probably answer of each and every person will be no. In fact, I can recollect, then there is a rule in GST law, Rule 89, which was amended twice in a very same day, on a very same day. Morning there was a different amendment, even evening there was a different amendment. So can a taxpayer keep pace with these kind of amendments? All the companies We all know that all the large companies, or maybe a company who are having a different presence in different locations, most of them are on the ERP systems. And whenever there is any change, they need time to adapt for it. Whether that change is a good or bad is altogether a different thing. But they need time at least to adapt for that. So whether this kind of time is always given, sometimes yes, but whether always these kind of times are given, I would say answer is no. Government should make a policy with regard to it, at least whenever they are going to change anything. So at least this much of the time, maybe 2 months, should be given to the taxpayers to cope up with that, to keep it, to at least to make their system in accordance with this. So this is what a second aspect which I was expecting there should be an improvement into it. Third aspect is behavior of the officers. That's very, very important to understand and to handle it. Before I discuss this aspect, let me tell you, and I'm sure most of them you are already aware, the company secretaries are having a very, very great role to play here. Please refer section 116 of the GST law, which specifically permits company secretaries to represent their client before all the GST authorities, including the appellate authorities and the tribunal. So you have every right to represent like any other professional, like an advocate, like a chartered accountant. You go and represent the company. So now coming to the behavior of the officers. See, whenever there is a new law, everyone needs time to understand it. The law was implemented in 2017. Obviously, taxpayer needs some time to understand it. So many things are there. So many things were new to the trade, which they have never seen. So many traders were there, which used to file their VAT return in once a quarter. That's it. So many services taxpayers were there who used to file their return on a 6 monthly basis. The taxpayers who were registered only and only with the VAT, they were alien to the concept of RCM. They have not known this concept. And even similarly, departmental officers were also not aware. No doubt about it. But see what happened nowadays when a taxpayer receives a notice for the very same period, 2017-18. Because now it's 4 or 5 years time. Everyone is aware about all those provisions. So the transaction or activity or the affairs of the business of that time are getting assessed with the knowledge of the officers of this time. So in my humble opinion, government should take a straight stand that at least for the periods of 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, at least 3 years time, they should not treat any of these kind of bona fide mistakes. Any penal action at least should not be taken up for them. This is what my thought at least for them, because even the officers were not aware at that time. Even the government has changed their stand at many a time on a different aspects. Now coming to from this particular behavior of officers to the topic which was assigned to me by Nagenji and team, adjudication process and the representation before the appellate authority. See, under the tax laws, we can say there is a 3-tier structure with regard to collection of taxes, whereby representation role comes. That's very, very important. We need to understand it. Before I go to this 3-tier structure which is provided within the law, let me remind everyone, Article 265 of the Constitution of India, which is a birthplace for levy and collection of any taxes. It reads like this: no tax shall be levied or collected otherwise than by way of authority of law. Please mind, it uses both words, levy or collection. Both has to be as per the authority of law, not otherwise. For the moment, I am taking up collection. So no tax shall be collected otherwise than by way of authority of law, That means if there is any collection of taxes, otherwise then the way law is provided, it is illegal or bad in law. Now coming to the three-tier structure of the adjudication and this recovery mechanism, let me come to it. In our tax laws, what happens? First stage is inquiry. I'm talking about post filing of the return. Whatever the levy is there, the taxpayer has self-assessed it, filed the return, chapter ends there. The part of the taxpayer is over as of now. Now I'm talking from the department point of view, that is the collection procedure. First tier or the first part is inquiry procedure. Once inquiry is over, then there is an adjudication procedure. Once adjudication is over, then there may be recovery or there may be litigation, either of it. Just touching upon all these three aspects in a bit detail. As far as inquiries are concerned, inquiry may be in different modes. Soft form of inquiry, scrutiny, or maybe a calling through a summon. What happened in a scrutiny or a summon? Section 61 and 71 respectively. What happens there? Tax officer gives the notice or a summon to the taxpayer or to the other person, calling him with certain informations. That means you are supposed to give the details or maybe a statement to the officers on a particular day, on a predefined date and time. I would say softest form of recovery, softest form of inquiry. Now, one step ahead. Audit. Now, what is happening in audit? The departmental officers are coming to the premises of the taxpayer with a predefined date and time. No company, no businessman, no taxpayer wants tax officer to come to his premises. This is a global phenomenon. It is not only in India. No company wants any tax officer to come to their office, but after scrutiny, I would say a bit harder form of inquiry is audit. But still, the department will come on a predefined date and time. Now the more harder form is inspection, whereby the department authorities will come to the office or the premises of the taxpayer without intimating date and time. It will be a surprise visit. This is inspection. But some limitations are there on the power. So hardest form of the inquiry proceeding is search and seizure, whereby again it will be without pre-information of date and time. It will be a surprise visit, and powers are rigorous. Like if you are not going to give the information, then there may be a break opening of the lock. They can take hard measures. So this is, but please mind, these are the different modes I explained, but ultimately all these modes are nothing but an inquiry. All these modes are a kind of fact gathering exercise or an information gathering exercise. None of these modes are the exercise so that a recovery can be enforced. So what are the statutory provisions? These are the inquiries. And if by any inquiry proceedings, let it be inspection, search, seizure, summon, scrutiny notice, audit by the department, audit by the province, whatever type of inquiry proceedings or fact gathering proceedings are there, the concerned officer, the proper officer, is of the view that taxpayer has not paid the tax or has paid the less tax, has availed input tax credit more than what he is eligible, or utilized wrongly, or erroneous refunds are there. These 5 things are there. Non-payment of tax, short payment of tax, availment or utilization of wrong credits, or erroneous refund. If these things are there, and this is what a result of this inquiry, then adjudication process has to start. Then adjudication process will naturally start from the show cause notice, pre-show cause, then show cause notices, etc., and will conclude with the passing of the assessment order or the adjudication order. Once the order is passed, then amount becomes due for the payment. Please mind and refer section 73 subsection 9 read with section 74 subsection 9. Amount will become due once the order is passed. That means once inquiry, the moment inquiry is over, adjudication starts. Once the adjudication will over by passing of the order. And once the order is passed, please refer section 78. Section 78 specifically says there is a 3 months time period to pay this demand Thereafter, only recovery proceedings can start. This is very important key aspect which I am telling you. Section 78 specifically says recovery proceedings can be start only after 3 months from the date of the service of the order, which has created the demand. Simultaneously, please refer the second limb, section 107 for the appellate proceedings. There is a 3 months time from the date of the order again for filing of the appeal. And appellate provision says you need to make pre-deposit of 10% of the disputed tax amount. And if you have deposited this amount and you have filed this appeal, then rest of the demand will get stayed. Just for a hypothetical, let us take an example. An assessing office and assessment order has been passed with a liability of, let's say, 1 crore rupee tax, 1 crore rupee penalty. Let us assume 80 lakh rupees of the interest amount. Total demand is 2 crore 80 lakh rupees. Then law says if you believe that your computation, your self-assessment is correct, department is wrong, you may file the appeal, you may agitate this demand, and you are supposed to pay 10 lakh rupees. That means 10% of 1 crore rupees for filing of the appeal. You are supposed to pay 10 lakh rupees and rest of the 2 crore 70 lakh demand will get automatically stayed. There will be a deemed stay on the demand. No one can recover it. Coming back to the issue which I wanted to highlight after discussing this 3-tier process. First tier, inquiry, then adjudication, then appellate mechanism or recovery. Either of them. Now what happened, you will agree with me, whosoever has faced any of the proceedings, that whatever type of inquiry proceeding we are facing, let it be scrutiny, let it be audit, let it be inspection, let it be search and seizure. In each and every proceeding, the single point target of the departmental officers was, you deposit the amount immediately. Again, are you saying something? You are on mute. Again, you are on mute if you want to convey something to me.
No, please carry on, sir. Please carry on. Some urgent call.
Okay, fine.
Please carry on.
Okay, fine. So, I'm sure each and every one of you and my co-panelists, Bimalji and Sanjayji, will agree with me that whenever the proceedings are going on, inspection is happening, search is happening, the one point target of the department is they want you to deposit the amount, and a kind of target is there already with them. That we are coming with this kind of target, this amount will have to be deposited with the government treasury on the very same day. Now I will come back with the Article 265 here again. What Article 265 says, for extract of 265, I will say, no tax shall be collected otherwise than by way of authority of law. So legal authority says the tax can be collected only after 3 months from the passing of the order. Whereby department, in each and every case, I will say, in each and every case, try to recover the amount during the inquiry proceedings, which is absolutely violation of the law. It is not as per the legal provisions. Let me give you some of the examples where though these type of cases has gone to the courts, I must say, in a unanimous way, the court has held that this procedure of recovery of any amount during the adjudication process, during the inquiry proceeding is wrong, not permissible. We can start from the judgment of the Honorable Gujarat High Court in case of Bhumi Associate, whereby they have in crystal clear sum, order dated 16 February 2021. They have given a direction to issue the instruction to the CBIC and the other senior officials that you please ensure, number one, 4 things they have directed. Number 1, recovery, no recovery shall be done when the proceedings under section 67 is going on. That means either inspection or search is going on. No recovery of any sort should be made. Number 2, even if the taxpayer is going to pay voluntary on that day, then tax officer should advise the taxpayer, don't deposit on today. Let us complete the proceedings and let us leave the premises, and on the very next day you can deposit if you want to deposit on a voluntary basis. If any businessman who have faced this search or inspection, he must be laughing on this statement. That actually, is it what the court said? Because actually what happens is altogether different. Third thing, the Honorable Court has directed that there should be a portal, grievance redressal portal or mechanism, whereby if there is any proceedings of inspection, search or seizure, in that case, one should be able to file a complaint or grievance. Number 4, if there is any complaint, grievance and the officers found to be errant, then they should be strictly punished. These kind of guidelines were being framed by the Honorable Gujarat High Court. After that, we had the very beautiful judgment from the Honorable Madras High Court in case of Nandi Dal Mill. That was also on the similar line, that forceful recovery was made. And then 2 crore rupees got deposited before adjudication. The claim of the department was, no, it was voluntary. Court said, no, nothing doing, no voluntary. When the assessee is ready to take the SCN, show cause notices, then you give the show cause notice, proceed with the adjudication. Let the law takes the course. That means when the adjudication will be over, you recover it if he is not filing the appeal, or rather, or let him file the appeal. Similarly, deemed distributors from the Telangana High Court, similar aspect. The very lovely observation which flooded during on this WhatsApp was, the court specifically made an observation that if you are making recovery during the inquiry proceeding, that means you are putting up cart before the horse. How can it run? That means recovery has to come after inquiry and adjudication is over, not before that. You are putting up recovery before that. Then after that, we got a judgment of this Swiggy judgment, Bundle Technologies, from the single bench of the Honorable Karnataka High Court, which was appealed by the government before the division bench. And division bench has given a beautiful judgment on 3rd March 2022. They have linked this aspect, recovery aspect, Article 265, linked it with Article 300A of the Constitution of India. They said if the recovery is made during the inquiry proceedings, it is a clear violation of 265 read with 300A, which gives a right to property. So, meaning thereby, I have just given one example and how the courts has come upon that. But please mind, not each and every person is capable or can go to the courts. So ultimately, it should be taken care by the government. That government should come up with such kind of direction or instruction that all these proceedings, the powers which are assigned to the officer, should be carried out in the manner as prescribed in the law only, not otherwise. And now what happened on the contrary, why I am not happy with the way that this is going on. Honorable Gujarat High Court has given an instruction, has passed the order to issue the instruction for these proceedings, what I discussed, on 16 February 2021. But even after lapsing of maybe approximately 15 months time, no instruction was issued. After we saw there was an instruction on this 25th May, last month only. Last month now, we are sitting on 1st July. 25th May 2022, the instruction was issued. But if you read that instruction, I must say, that is a kind of jalebi jaise bana diya jata, it's like that. So government should be clear that the law should be transparent. Law should be followed in the true spirit of the way it is being made. सिर्फ काम चलाने के लिए चीजें नहीं होनी चाहिए. So this is what the point which I wanted to tell you about this aspect. As far as the appellate proceedings are there, I have touched upon the first appellate level. If you are going to second appellate, which is not there as discussed by the Bimalji, that second appellate is that is GST appellate tribunal is not there as of now. That is why that the cases are directly going to before the Honorable High Court. Now see what happens if even whenever this tribunal will be there, the only difference or the major difference would be there will be an pre-deposit is 30% instead of 10%. That means additional 20% will also have to be deposited. Total it will make 30%. So this is what one aspect we should keep in mind. I am hopeful that there is an issue actually. Yesterday also, the government has set up a committee that we will discuss this aspect of the tribunal. One may think that why this tribunal is needed, because the legal provisions are crystal clear there. Please mind, those provisions which are there in the statute as of now has already been struck down by the Honorable Madras High Court in the case of Revenue Bar Association versus Union of India. For the reason, majorly there are two reasons on which the court has given their observation. Number one, the Joint Secretary level officer has given the same stature that of the judicial member. Number two, the strength of the bench, which is a three-member bench, in which one is a judicial member, one is a state government representative, another is a central government representative. So ultimately what happens? Judicial member is in a minority, whereby there is a guidelines from the Honorable Supreme Court in case of R. Gandhi that in any tribunal there has to be 50% of the judicial members. So that is why the statutory provisions are not in synchronization with the guidelines which were being formulated by the Honorable Supreme Court. So these things has to be resolved. But coming, since my time is over, so if I'll conclude, I must say that by implementation of GST, so many places, like I must say for companies which are having a multiple state presence, large companies, foreign companies who are coming to India, definitely, invariably, I must say that the laws are getting simplified as compared to the pre-GST era, pre-1st July 2017. But if we analyze these particular aspects for a SME sector, micro, small and even medium sector companies, probably who are operating in one single state, for them, the GST has actually made their path miserable, I must say. And government should focus on it, how to give some, how to make their processes or businesses ease for them doing business should be there for them. One thing which I identified recently, maybe in last 1.5 years, what happens? Earlier we used to have an increase or decrease in rate of taxes. Now we have a decrease or rationalization. Whenever there is an increase in taxes, it is termed as rationalization. So maybe with this word, I'll conclude myself. Thanks a lot to the ICSI for giving me this opportunity so that I could share some of my thoughts within the given time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jatinji, for highlighting various aspects, more so in regards to the judgments what you quoted with regards to the Gujarat High Court, followed by the Madras High Court as well as the Karnataka High Court with regards to the forceful recovery. I am sure that many of our professionals would definitely take the benefit of the judgments what you quoted with regard to the Bhumi case and other cases of this particular judgment. Maybe during the vote of thanks, I will cover few aspects on that. Now we have with us another panelist, our own dear member CS Sanjay Malhotra ji. CS Sanjay Malhotra is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He also possesses qualification as CFA, Cost and Management Accounting, MBA Finance, MCOM Gold Medalist, and also an alumni of ISB. He is a practicing company secretary over 30 years of experience, and for past 10 years he is in practice, and 20 years he was in the industry at various levels, including that of the president level. He has extensive knowledge and experience in the field of indirect taxation, GST, central excise, service tax, customs, VAT, foreign trade, policy, export, import, and other allied laws, supply chain management, and he has been a member of many committees of our esteemed institute. He is a diversified professional, effective speaker, and a technical author on the book Handbook on GST Audit by Tax Authorities. With this brief introduction, may I request our dear CS Sanjay Malhotra ji, our esteemed member of our institute, to kindly share a few words with regards to the GST and the way forward, covering all the aspects of GST in nutshell. Over to you, sir. 30 minutes to you.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nagendra ji, past president of ICSI. So my colleagues, Bimal Jain ji, and of course, Ms. Jatin ji. So Nagendra ji rightly said, so Bimal ji always comes up as a opening batsman. If you see, to leaves hardly space for down the line players. So I think he has covered almost all the major issues which are going on as of now in GST. So very precisely. So wish all members a very happy GST day. And today, if you see, it's also basically Happy Doctors Day and CA Day. So one manages wealth, another takes care of your health. So congratulations to all the tax holders, tax policymakers also, taxpayers and consumers. So everybody contribution is there in implementation of GST. So when it was rolled out, so today GST completes almost means half a decade journey. So rightly said by Bimalji also, and as well as by Nagendraji also, that GST is considered as one of the biggest and toughest reforms. So I would say toughest reforms implemented on July 1st, 2017. Why so? Because if you see, it has integrated entire nation diverse tax portfolio into a single taxation system. So that is why we called it as a good and simple tax. But if you see, when GST was introduced, it was not a good and simple tax. It's only the journey in past 5 years. Various GST council meetings have taken place. Lot of circulars, notifications, as shared by Nagendraji initially, has been rolled out by government. Why so? Only to overcome the problems which is faced by taxpayers. Let me quote a small statement. Change is the only constant. Why change is the only constant? Because if you see, this aptly explains the journey of GST in its 5 years. We all have witnessed continuous efforts of GST in past 5 years. It may be rationalization of rates, tweaking of rates. So Jatinji rightly said, because earlier, if you see, so it's only basically budget days when we used to come across with increase or decrease in central excise rates. So now if you see, it's basically whenever tweaking of rates takes place, it's the rationalization of GST rates. Returns compliances have been made easier over a period of past 5 years. But if you see, the basic objective when GST was introduced was the matching concept. And this is one of the burning issue which is going on as of now also, because GSTR2 is now omitted. It was never means implemented. So initially when GST came in, it was only suspended. Later on, if you see, though, it has been omitted. And Vimalji rightly said, because if you see, industry are coming across with issues in respect of variance in matching of input tax credit versus either it is GSTR 2B, now it is 2B versus 3B. Scrutiny instruction note has already been come in. So which is instruction note number 1. Proper officers have been allocated basically the task of scrutiny of returns. So if you see, initially they were left with only hardly 3 months for issuing show cause notices, which is for the normal time limit. Because if you see, for 17-18 annual return was due date for filing of annual return was 5th February, 7th February for some states. Now means in the 47th GST Council meeting, so they have already extended limitation period under section 73 till September 2023. But if you see, whenever the scrutiny of returns is going to be there, various notices have been issued in past also, and industry is going to receive various notices in future also. And one of the important aspect is going to be the difference in ITC versus GSTR 2A or 2B and 3B. I'll share a small example with you, because if you see, some dishonest even taxpayers are there who will not receive any notice during scrutiny of returns. So why? So I'll share a small example with you. For example, if I have sourced, I'm based in Chandigarh. So if I have sourced one mobile phone costing rupees 1 lakh, wherein element of GST is 18% from Mr. Nagendra, who is based in Bangalore, he has raised invoice on me, charging element of IGST, let's say at the rate of 18%, which comes to 18,000. And I have sourced one mobile phone from Mr. Jatin, who is based in Rajasthan, costing rupees 1 lakh. He has also raised invoice to me, wherein element of GST at the rate of 18% is 18,000. I have availed ITC of IGST for rupees 18,000 in my GSTR 3B against invoice issued by Mr. Jatin. So my GSTR 3B is saying that I have availed ITC of IGST, which is 18,000 rupees. But Mr. Jatin has never ever filed GSTR 1 or paid tax in GSTR 3B. But if you see, Mr. Nagendra has filed GSTR 1 and the entry has auto-populated into my GSTR 2A. So if you see the dashboard which is at the taxpayers portal and the dashboard which is available at the officers portal will always show a summary that there does not exist any mismatch, because ITC as per GSTR 2A is 18,000 and ITC which has been availed by me is 18,000. But exactly during the course of audit, if officers comes across with that I have availed ITC on the invoice which has been issued by Mr. Jatin, but he has never ever filed GSTR 1. So only then means I can land myself into trouble. But if you see, during the course of matching, which is to be done, or during the course of scrutiny of returns, which is to be done online, At GST portal, no notices are going to be served in these type of cases. Simplification of returns is there. We all are aware of that for MSMEs whose aggregate annual turnover is up to 5 crores. QRMP scheme has been implemented from January 1, 2021. It is basically ease of doing business for them. Because instead of filing GST on a monthly basis, now option has been given to them to file GSTR on a quarterly basis, but they can have a facility to file in various invoices having cumulative value up to 50 lakhs through IFF facility. Then one of the major amendment is the self-certification of reconciliation statement, which is GSTR 9C. For taxpayers whose aggregate turnover at PAN level is more than 5 crores. Because there used to be times wherein Nagenderji, past presidents of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and of course, priority is given to Mr. Vimal Jain also, because we have taken up matter with GST Council so many times to bring CS also at par with CAs and CMAs for certification of annual returns. But last year, if you see, when the self-certification has been introduced and the certification by professionals, chartered accountants and cost and management accountants has been done away with from financial year 2020-21. So now if you see, even opportunities are there for CS professionals also. So as of now, till the self-certification was introduced, so if you see, practicing company secretaries were into the process of filing GSTR1, GSTR3B, or any other returns like ITC 04. But now if you see, they have been given opportunity even to assist their taxpayers to prepare GSTR 9, to prepare GSTR 9C. So if you see, lot of opportunities are there. So as on date, we cannot say that CS in GST has few opportunities in comparison to opportunities which CAs or CMAs are having as of now. Uniform SOP for processing of export refunds, because if you see in past 5 years, every year you will come across with either 3-4 circulars as far as the processing of export refunds are concerned. Various issues taxpayers have come across within past 5 years, but the best part is whatever timeline is there, which is 60 days for processing of refunds and minimal interaction with the taxpayers. So whatever documents is to be uploaded at GST portal, the auto population is there. Minimal interaction is there. Even in some cases, if you see, so whenever exporters are making clearances of exports on payment of IGST, even they are not aware of who exactly is the officer who is processing their refunds. So this is one of the good move. But only exception is that in the past 5 years, we have taken up with board and GST council various times that wherever taxpayer is making exports on payment of IGST, no doubt proceeds are getting credited to their account. But the only issue which is coming across is that no refund order is there. When a taxpayer is making application for refund, wherever he is making exports under LUT or bond, he is making application with his jurisdictional officer. RFD 06 is there, which is a case of refund order. And in case taxpayer has to file appeal, if in case of short sanction of claim, so he can do so against refund order, which is in form RFD 06. But nobody has come across with RFD 06 in case of exports, which is made on payment of IGST. And the worst part, if you see, in the past 5 years is that in case of export refunds, whenever government has come out with any amendment, it is only in the circular. And circular, if you see, as per Supreme Court, is binding only on the departmental officers, not on the taxpayers. I'll share a small example with you. For the past 5 years, if you see, in circulars 125, which was issued in 2019, a clause was inserted which says that export refunds are to be processed on a value which is FOB value or invoice value, GST invoice value, whichever is less. But you will not come across with this particular clause either in section 54 or in rule 89. It is only based upon one objection which was raised by CAG, Controller Auditor General of India, and then GST policy wing, if you see, passed on instructions to their respective commissionates at cross-national level that refund is to be processed on a value, FOB value or invoice value, whichever is less. So these kind of notices, or if you see, taxpayers are coming across with deductions even in respect of wherever difference is there between the FOB value and invoice value. So they are paying duty, they are paying GST on invoice value because section 15 says whatever consideration you are receiving, so it is going, tax is going to be paid on same. So they are complying on one hand with the provisions which is laid down in section 15 of CGST Act. But on the other side, because on one side, government wants means taxpayers to comply with tax laws, to pay tax on the total invoice value, because consideration is going to be the total invoice value. And on the other side, so when they are giving refund to the taxpayers, it is basically the FOB value or invoice value, whichever is less. And for the past 5 years, if you see, wherever exporters have come across with short sanction of claims, wherever they have cleared export on payment of IGST, no refund order is there. So appeal kare bhi to means which order is going to be there, so against which a particular industry or a taxpayer will file appeal. No doubt, Vimalji rightly said, because government has now come out with another format, which is GST PMT 3A. Because if you see, so last, I think in 2018, notification 54 by 2018 was issued, when in one of the exception was that in case of imports under advance authorization, if taxpayer has not paid IGST, he cannot make clearances on payment of IGST. But if you see, various notices we have even come across with issued by even the proper officer or officers of DGCI and DRI also. In some cases, even officers are not aware of, because explanation was inserted in notification 16 by 2020 that this is effective from 23rd 10 2017. But 54 by 2018 notification says that it is effective from the day when it is going to be published in official gazette, and official gazette, it was published on 11th October. So still, if you see, now this is one of the good move which has been placed in recommendations of 47th GST Council meeting, because earlier, if you see, no mechanism were there. So wherever taxpayers have exported on payment of IGST against a particular advance authorization, but has not paid has not paid IGST at the time of import of goods. So वहाँ क्या हुआ? They have to surrender back whatever IGST they have claimed on exports along with the interest, but no mechanism were there. No mechanism was there to recredit the proceeds into their electronic credit ledger, which has been recently incorporated into 47 GST Council meeting, which is basically very good move. Reduce, if we see in past during COVID times, various COVID-19 relief measures were there for MSMEs also. Extension in time period for submissions of returns, reduce rate for MSMEs, various means, if you see, measures was placed in by GST Council. Minimal interaction with taxpayers is there, of course, which is a very good move. But if you have look at scrutiny of returns, instruction note, it also talks about minimal interaction with taxpayers. But if you happen to have look at dashboard of GST officers and dashboard which is at GST portal of taxpayers, you will come across with that the figures which is available at taxpayers dashboard and the figures which is available at officers dashboard are totally different. During the course of scrutiny of returns, various notices are being issued by GST officers to taxpayers. And notices may, if you see, one major aspect is the difference between 2A or difference between 2A versus 3B, or difference between 1 GSTR 1 and 3B is this much. That is as per their dashboard. But it is only kind of a harassment to taxpayers, because when taxpayers reverts back to officers, so they enclose copy of their summary also, which is available at their tax dashboard, which clearly spells out the figures which is different from the figures which is there in the notices. So unnecessarily, if you see, lot of basically unnecessarily harassment is there, because I have come across with various notices issued across means nation to taxpayers, wherein dashboard of taxpayers says something and dashboard of tax officer says something. So then if you see digitalization of taxation system, which is one of the best move, I would say, because it's a major shift towards leverage of technology. No doubt e-invoicing is there, because if you see, Vimalji is aware of, because he has been highlighting in the past 4 years burning issue, which is for fake invoices. No doubt e-invoicing has come across with. from April 1st, 2022. So it is even mandatory for those taxpayers whose average annual turnover is more. In the past, starting from 1st July 2017, in any of the financial year, if the turnover is more than 20 crores. But you see, this is one of the good move. But still, lacuna is there. No doubt, GSTN at the initial stage had number of technical glitches at GST portal. But the best part is because if you see establishment and running of GSTN, single IT platform to handle tax systems of states and union territories, along with the single interface for more than 1.37 crore taxpayers as of now, is a challenging task. Initially, we all are aware of that technical glitches were there. That is why GSTR 2.3 has never been put in place at GST portal. So despite of all this, if you see, in order to control the issues of fake invoicing, so no doubt GSTR 2B and GSTR 2B and GSTR 1 details are getting auto-populated in the present scenario in GSTR 3B. Because earlier what used to happen was, if I have filled in liability which is there in the GSTR 1, which is let's say for 1 lakh rupees, so 3B, at the time of filing 3B, so in some cases, if you see, you may come across with that the figure of tax liability, which is 1 lakh, has been wrongly punched as 10 lakhs. So 9 lakh zyada ho jata tha. So in present scenario, if you see, so it's a point to appreciate that GSTN has been regularly updating GST portal and making compliances easier in terms of simplification of returns. No doubt, as present scenario, if you file GSTR 1, data gets auto-populated whatever liability is there as per GSTR 1 to GSTR 3B. But during the course of scrutiny of returns, because why scrutiny of returns exercise is now going on at present, because instruction note number 1 is there. It is not to harass taxpayers, if you see from departmental perspective. It is not even the fault finding exercise, because GSTR 1 return is filed by taxpayer, 3B return is also filed by taxpayer, and taxpayer should make sure whatever liability is there as per GSTR 1, it should be discharged in GSTR 3. Because if difference is going to be there, then in scrutiny, in case of scrutiny of returns, whenever tax officer is going to issue notice to us, that notice is only because of our fault, because we have not validated figures on a monthly basis. So my submission to all taxpayers is to make sure whatever liability is there as per GSTR 1, same should get discharged in GSTR 3B. And if you see, no doubt department has come out with another important clause, which is 16(2)AA from January 1st, 2022, which says that supplier has to furnish return. Supplier has to furnish detail of outward supplies under section 37, which is GSTR 1. So because if you see earlier, there used to be only 4 clauses, which Vimalji has already apprised. And whenever taxpayer or you are getting any kind of a notices from department, because if you see this practice is commonly, you will come across at national level that wherever mismatch is there between GSTR 2A and 3B, notices are issued to various taxpayers. But you have to get back to them. So I am reiterating what Vimalji has also pointed out, that you have to get back to tax officer, that if you refer to section 16(2) of CGST Act, it has 4 conditions. One is possession of tax invoice. Second is receipt of goods or services. Third is your supplier should have filed GSTR 3B or paid tax. But if you see, there was no condition that supplier has to furnish GSTR 1 also. When the condition was not incorporated in section 16(2), which contravention in section of GST Act or rules of GST Act taxpayer has done? Rule section 42, if you see, was never ever implemented, which was a matching concept. And because if you see recent Finance Act, it has been proposed to be omitted. No doubt, one hand, because if you see most of the amendments, even if you see in GST law, have been prospective. But retrospective amendments with effect from 1st July 2017 have not been uncommon and have continued to be made right up to the Finance Act 2022. Because if you see, even in the recent Finance Act, it has been recommended to amend Section 50 subclause 3 of CGST Act, which says that if a taxpayer has availed ITC, which is incorrect or which has been claimed excess inadvertently, but if that ITC has not been utilized, interest cannot be charged. Because if you see in central excise regime, we had various judgments even from higher courts, from Supreme Court, that if a taxpayer has availed ITC and if that taxpayer has made reversal without utilizing ITC, it is as good as non-availment of ITC. If you see, lot of issues are there, so which still needs to be resolved. So important aspect is non-payment to vendor within 180 days from the date of issue of invoice. What revenue stands to lose? Because if you see, if I am sourcing something from Mr. Jatin, it is only commercial terms and conditions between me and Mr. Jatin, that if you fail, if whatever material you supply to me, because let's say if you are going to put up water treatment plant into my premises, which is going to take almost close to more than a year's time, so I'll be making payment to you after the end of 1 year, whenever means entire water treatment plant gets installed into my premises. But if I am availing credit, it is only my commercial terms and conditions between me and Mr. Jatin that I'll be making him payment 1 year down the line. What revenue stands to lose? If I am not making payment to Mr. Jatin, so means law is saying that I have to make reversal of ITC along with interest. And again, if you see, interest is also one of the issue which is in dispute as of now, which has to be clarified by GST Council, because Rule 37 of CGST rule says that in case of non-payment to vendor, ITC has to be reversed, not reversed. Rule 37 says that it has to be added to output liability. And when it has to be added to output liability, interest is to be charged as per Section 50 subclause 1. And the department officers, if you see, have a different kind of interpretation, that 50 subclause 1 says that tax is to be paid on net liability, which is only in case of supplies, not in case of ITC reversal in case of 180 days. Another thing, because way ahead, if you see, lot of issues are there, because one may come across with non-fungible assets as of now, which is a case of virtual digital asset. So still, clarity from income tax, no doubt, is there. But from GST angle, the lack of clarity is there, whether to treat it as digital assets, whether to treat the same as goods, or whether to treat the same as services, and what is going to be the rate of tax on same. Because as of now, you may come across with non-fungible assets are going on, virtual sales, virtual digital assets are getting supplied, and residual entry is there in GST 453, which says 18% tax liability is there. So whenever demands are coming across for supply of digital assets, virtual digital assets, so initially it is considered as supply of goods, and whatever means GST is there, which is 18% in case of residual entry, because clarification is not there. What rate exactly is going to be there for supply of virtual digital assets, and whether it is going to be treated as supply of goods or supply of services. As far as high C sales is concerned, so Vimalji rightly pointed out that in case of high C sales, so when the material which is sourced from a supplier based in South Korea and supplied to another person which is based outside India, it is already built in Schedule 3 from means February 1. But if you see prior to February 1, 2019, if you see, even in central excise, there was no tax in case of high C sales. Because jurisdiction is out of India, GST is applicable only within India, whole of India. Now, if you see, setting up of GST tribunals, Jatin ji has already pointed out, and the important aspect one should make sure what Jatin ji has apprised is the Article 265 of Constitution, that tax cannot be levied and collected without authority of law. No doubt, if you see in present scenario, we are coming across with concerns from various taxpayers that in case of change of land use, for example, if you have been given land which is to be used for industrial purposes, and tomorrow, let's say, government comes out with, or state government or central government, that land which is given to you for industrial purposes, now you can run commercial activities on the same land. So which is going to be the change of land use from industrial activity to commercial activity? No doubt means government CBIC flyer is there, which says that change of land use, it is covered in 12th schedule, Article 243W of Constitution, and is not to be considered supply. But as on date, if you see for the past 5 years, this matter is hanging on with GST Council with board. And this particular article has been stated of, which is Article 265, that tax cannot be levied and collected without authority of law. This is the most important aspect which is going to be there in GST. And if you see, means my submissions always basically the board and GST Council is not to come out with amendments like means whatever GST refunds has to be processed on FOB value versus invoice value, whichever is there, or one has to upload Annexure B. It is only there in an CGST Circular 125 at the time of filing of refund claims, but nothing is provided as far as rules are concerned. So my submission basically to GST councils, and we will also take up through means Institute of Company Secretaries of India to GST councils, because various the matters have been taken up through institute earlier to the board also, and they have come out with various clarifications that if government is going to come out with any amendment, so it is going to be either in section or rules, not in circulars. Because if it is going to be in circulars, then even if taxpayer is not complying with those circulars, government can now say, yeah, means whatever means taxes, either if it is a case of ITC or payment of tax or refund of ITC. So it should be admissible. It should be made admissible to taxpayers, because circulars are binding only on tax officials, not on taxpayers. So another aspect is, because if you see reverse charge mechanism, because whenever scrutiny of returns is going to be there, so make sure that scrutiny of returns and audit is altogether a different task. And in case of scrutiny of returns, minimal interaction is going to be there with taxpayers. But in case of audit, and audit, if you see, it is not restricted to returns, audit of returns. Whenever audit is going to be there, because if you see, Jatinji is aware of, because whenever we used to have sessions in NASEN for state GST officers and central GST officers. So if you see course, refresher course, which is on GST audit, which runs for 4 days, what it comprises of? It comprises of creating awareness among GST officers, state and central GST officers, about exactly going through what trial balance is, how journal entry is passed, how to validate, how to download and validate ledgers which is there in the tally, so that whatever figures are there in trial balance, it should directly match with the tally records also, ERP records also, which particular had to be targeted by officers from trial balance. So whenever, because if you see, whenever audit is going to be there, auditor will have a look at your trial balance, P&L and balance sheet first. That is going to be the primary aspect. Secondary is going to be the returns part, because return parts means if any deficiency is there, it is going to be scrutinized even by the system also. So whenever auditor is going to visit your factory, so he'll come across with cases like, whenever he'll go through your trial balance, whatever incomes are there on the credit side, whether those incomes have been declared in your GSTR1 or not, because he would look at those figures which as per him amounts to supply, but as per you, it is not treated as supply. Because if you may have gone with through various articles which have been I think authored by Vimal Jain also, as far as the employee recoveries are concerned. CSR activities, he rightly pointed out, because if you see various authorities for advanced building decisions are there. So one says that CSR is not in the course of furtherance of business, and one says that it is in the course of furtherance of business. And in some cases, if you see, though, it says that 17.5H, it is given on FOC basis. So that's why ITC is not admissible. So employee recoveries, if you see.
Last 2 minutes, Sanjay ji. Last 2
Right,
minutes.
sir. Right, sir.
Questions.
So because, right, sir. Right, Nagendra ji. Because if you see in case of employee recoveries also, so notice pay. Department considered it as agreed to tolerate an act, but it is not agreed to tolerate an act. No services rendered. It is not a case of supply. So various basically aspects are there. Still, if you see, litigations are going on, despite of various clarifications by higher courts. Since we're not taking much of time, I would say that measures taken by the GST Council in the past 5 years have really focused on making GST a good and simple tax. But if you see, still lot of journey is there which is to cover as of now, because whenever this scrutiny process is going to be there, scrutiny of returns and audit. So if you see, department will come out with various concerns, because whenever we are going to have next means GST day, which is next year. So we'll come across with various issues wherein interpretation is going to be different from tax department perspective, and it is going to be different what law exactly says. So thank you very much. Thank you, Nagendraji.
Thank you very much, Sanjay ji, for crisply putting across many points with regard to the GST. Now let us move on to the question sessions. There are few members who have asked questions. My first question is to Bimal ji. Can GST registration be cancelled if returns are not filed since registration in the year 2021? If yes, then after cancellation approval, will there be any problem if GST registration is required to be applied again?
If we are not filing regularly GST return and the provisions are being prescribed under section 29 subsection 2 clause B and clause C, then yes, our registration can be suspended. Now what this 47 GST Council meeting has recommended, there would be automatic revocation of the suspension provided you have filed your return which was not filed earlier. So yes, if you're not filing regularly and the continuous period is prescribed, the 6 months for the normal taxpayer and for the quarterly 3 period is being defined. That's what the provision. So it has to be ensured that we are filing regular return, and in case we are not filing, get suspended, please file it. There would be automatic revocation of suspension.
So in other words, file the return now and get the
Of course
get the
they can file
registration.
it.
So you need not.
See, very simple. If you're not filing, you're carrying on with your liability. Even the nil return will have late fees. So we have to bear in our mind, it's not the matter of my choice that I'm not filing. It is better that we should file right away instead of delaying the process.
Okay. My second question is to Jatin ji. Setting up of GST tribunal has been delayed, resulting in many writ petitions at high courts, increased cost, pendency of litigation for companies, and the efforts involved. How has it impacted GST implementation? Because rather than going for appellate tribunal, people are going to the high courts. So in that case, what is its impact? Jatin ji, can you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry. Yes. I must say that's a very apt question. See, what is the difference between tribunal and court we need to understand? Courts are dealing with all type of legal issues. If you go to high court, the high court judges are dealing starting from the CPC, CRPC, IPC, Information Technology Act, FEMA, each and every law they are dealing. What happened in case of tribunal? Tribunals are dealing with a very specified statute. In that case, what happens? Tribunals are supposed to be, and they are, actually become master of the subject. This is what happened in any tribunal, and the result is more purified judgments, more synchronized judgments. This is and speedier judgments. These are the I would say outcome of any tribunal. Since the tribunal is not there, appeal cannot be filed. Appeal against the order of the tribunal cannot be filed. What we do when we go to High Court, we go in a writ petition under Article 226 of the 227 of the Constitution of India. So, as far as the scope is concerned, 226's scope is altogether different than any of the appellate proceedings. Instead of, while we are filing any appeal of any of the order, maybe against the tribunal before the any high court or maybe otherwise, maybe to the tribunal. The difference with 226 is 226 is guided mainly by the constitutional aspects, whether fairness is there or not. Very broad aspects are there. And number two is the great level of discretions are there with the judges sitting in the high courts, and when they are exercising their power under Article 226. Unlike when the powers are being exercised under appellate mechanism. So at times we saw that different type of judgments within the similar type of facts also comes from the different high courts, which makes the process of implementation of law like GST, which is at a nascent stage, bit difficult or maybe bit confusing for the taxpayer when they heard, okay, Gujarat High Court said this thing, maybe Madras High Court said the other thing. Recently we have seen the Madras High Court in Sundaykem has specifically recognized all these aspects that GST 2-3 has not been recognized. But recently, last week, there is a judgment from the Madras High Court itself under Article 226 when in a writ petition, they said, okay, that procedure is not mandatory. Rule 42 procedure is not mandatory. So, bit conflicting judgments may come while the position is under Article 226. So, that is why I am saying the role in implementation of a new law like GST's tribunals are very, very important. So, a purified question will reach to the high courts in that cases.
Okay. My next question to Sanjay ji. Sanjay ji, a question is, how would you assess 5 years of GST implementation in terms of the benefit challenges, and how had it helped us in strengthening the indirect tax coverage in India?
Correct, sir. Because if you see, so like I shared in my during session also, that as far as if we see past 5 years of journey in GST, so one, basically the best part is the leverage of technology, which was not there in pre-GST regime. So in central excise regime, it was only basically returns which is to be filed at GST portal, either it may be ER1 or ST3. But in present scenario, if you see, so it's basically the leverage of technology in past 5 years. So GSTN can be given basically a credit to come out with regular updates on GST portal, because till last 4 years, because if you see till last GST day, Vimalji can also basically watch this fact that we were talking only as far as one of the burning issue, which is a case of fake invoices. But in last 1 year, if you see, it has not completely been abolished, but the cases has been reduced. So why so? Because various checks have been placed in system. Now, recipient of goods or services is aware of whether his supplier has filed return GSTR1 or not, and whatever liability is there as per GSTR1, whether the same liability, how much percentage of liability has been discharged. But this is only available till L1 level, not beyond means L1 level as of now, which we are taking, which we have taken up with GST Council also, because our else means ITC issue as far as fake invoices is concerned, it will go on. And the best part second is why means increase in tax collections, if you see. So one of the major aspects is only leverage of technology. So April May we collected close to 1,68,000 crores means by way of GST collections. So now average for the past 6 months, if we see, it is more than 1,20,000 crores. But the best part again is another best feature that GST portal is filing of export refunds. Minimal interaction is there with the taxpayers. तो हम कहते हैं कि नहीं इतना percentage तो, because earlier taxpayers had kind of a concern that इतना हमें लेना है तो इतना percentage we need to shell out. Now the best part is it is only basically filing of refunds. In case of exports on made of payment of IGST, it's the shipping bill which is considered as a refund filing. So proceeds be automatically it's credited to party's account. So which is one of the major advantage. So leverage of technology is one of the best part. And as you rightly pointed out in your initial speech, that if we see various circulars, notifications addressing the concerns of taxpayers in the past have been continuously issued by means board. So which is an appreciable aspect.
Another next question is to Bimalji. Is there any provision to adjust credit ledger balance against late fees in GST?
No, you can't use e-credit ledger for payment of late fees. And in this 47 GST Council meeting, they have specifically said they're going to issue a circular. And circular going to clarify that you are having two ledger, one is the e-cash ledger, one is the e-credit ledger. To what, for the demand taxes, you can use it. So they have said where you can use your e-cash ledger and e-credit ledger, quite implied it can be used only for your tax liability. For making payment of any late fees, interest, penalty, you have to use your e-cash ledger. That's what the provision, and that is what the clarity agent did, and that's they are going to clarify by way of circular.
Follow-up question is for restaurants who sells food online through Swiggy, Zomato and all, what is the requirement to file return from January 2022 onwards, and who is liable to file the return?
Ultimately, it is the services which is being provided by the restaurant. That's what being stated. Now, this is a very specific provision is being prescribed. Now, such e-commerce operator like Zomato, they are getting into the shoes of restaurant and charging 5%. So in that case, Zomato need to provide the outward supply at the rate of 5%. That is what the provision.
Okay. My next question is to Jatinji. Jatinji, this is issue of inverted duty structure also continues to be a hurdle as refund of input services is currently not allowed. Can you share your views, please?
I must say that whatever I'm going to say today will become change in few days' time, when we are going to see some changes in the provision. First of all, logically, in my humble opinion, the reason why these provisions are there, that there is some outward supplies are there which are at lower rate, and there is an input tax credit at a higher rate. This is what a simple case of inverted duty structure. Then there should be no reason that this refund should not be allowed. This is logical, not law. Now there is a provision as far as section 54 subsection 3 are concerned, which allows the credit in the inverted duty structure cases. The mechanism is provided in Rule 89. It was vastly debated. This different judgments came in from the different high courts. Finally, we got a judgment from the Supreme Court recently in the VKC footstep also, whereby the judgment of the Gujarat High Court, which was favorable to the assessee, was reversed. Meaning thereby, they approved that the rule is more or less okay. I'm not saying 100%, but more or less okay. That means that is fine. Government can make up a rule, and rule was made in such a manner that services credit refund was not available. However, there was a comment from the Honorable Supreme Court side that the way rule is framed, it is presupposing that the credit is being utilized in a particular manner so that the refund is getting reduced. That means that it is first utilized towards the goods component. So that is why they recommended to review this rule. And recently, in this GST Council meeting, 47 GST Council meeting, which concluded on day before, this aspect has been discussed, and it says that they are going to revise the formula. So very soon we will see that there will be amendment in Rule 89 and along with them, whereby the different formulas are prescribed. So we can see some changes in that, and I believe that some kind of service credit refund may be there. So that is why I said this is somewhat a temporary phase.
Okay.
Let us see what happens in the fine print notification.
Though Bimal Jain ji had talked about the export with regard to GST, there is one question which has come. I would request Sanjay ji to answer this question. What is the impact of GST on trade with other country? Has it promoted exports from India?
What is the impact of GST on sir? Can you? आवाज नहीं आ रहा आपका नगेंद्र जी.
Impact of GST on the trade on export from India with regards to the new changes which has taken place on GST front.
Correct, because if you see, so nothing is going to be there, because the article means I think 286 of Constitution is already there. So which says that no taxes and duties are to be exported. So whatever means taxes and duties are there. So even person exports, so he is going to get back means either in the form of refund of GST, and in case of exports, if you see, various other schemes are there, like ROTAP is there, which is remission of duties taxes paid on export product. ROSCTL is there. So exports ke case mein, exports are always relieved of duties and taxes.
Okay, sir. Last question to all the three.
Yes,
okay,
yes. I think Vimalji will also add to this.
Yeah, Vimalji, please.
Maybe this question was from a perspective of intermediary services. A lot of services are being promoted by intermediaries situated in India, that is not being considered as the export of services.
Correct.
Because place of supply
Place
is
of
being
supply is-
considered location of supplier.
Location of supply.
And this is going contrary with the concept of destination-based tax. Ultimately, these intermediaries are giving services to a recipient, to a foreign party outside India. At their behest only they are providing the services, ultimately received and consumed by the foreign party only. And they are getting paid in convertible foreign exchange. Only place of supply,
Place of supply.
contrary provision, copy-paste provision from service tax. From 1st October 2014,
2014.
saying no, place of supply is location of supplier, hence it is not export of services. So this is another challenge when we look at 5 years journey of GST. It is not synced with the GST, the destination-based consumption tax. It has been given to the foreign party, gone to the foreign party, used by the foreign party, and we are getting paid convertible foreign exchange. It is not export, 18% leviable. Contrary and big challenge. And the judgment like Gujarat High Court has already upheld the validity of 13 subsection 8 clause B of IGST Act. But the fortunate part, Bombay High Court, we are having two different judgment from the two different views from the same bench. And it has gone to the chairman of that Bombay High Court.
Okay. Yes, Jatinji.
Sir, though both of my co-speaker has aptly covered this thing, but since the issue was in relation to foreign trade, I just wanted to put up 1 minute on it. The discussion was, and the question was obviously on the export side, impact of GST on the export. I just want to have maybe another 45 seconds on the import side. Whatever be the impact on the of the GST on the export, but import has increased like anything, or I would say import of finished goods. Why I am saying so? Before GST, in the pre-GST regime, we used to have BCD plus CVD and SAD. CVD and SAD were having a different treatment. If I am a manufacturer or I am a trader. In case of manufacturing, I used to get benefit, refund or benefit or set off of both of them. But in case of trader, I used to get only SAD refund. CVD was more cost. But what happens in GST regime, both has been clubbed into IGST. And whether I am a trader or I am a manufacturer, I am getting refund or set off of that IGST in whole. So meaning thereby, in some way, it is an incentive to the traders. That means some way we can see this is the trend to make in India. So even in our institute has given a representation on this count to the government. I'm sure the government will do something to correct it.
We are finally concluding this session, but before we conclude, since we talk about GST ahead, what are those 3 bullet points to all the 3 panelists which could help in making really good and simple tax? Over to you, Bimalji. Like 3 pointers. What could be those 3 points so that institute can also make our representation to the department concerned, to the Ministry of Finance, so that it can help not only to all professional stakeholders, India as a whole, as we say, one nation, one tax, for our India, how to make it more prosper, growth oriented. Can you please 3 bullet points, please?
First bullet point: seamless flow of credit. Allow seamless flow of credit with no condition and restriction. It should be simple, as envisaged in the object clause. Second, my bullet point would be that whenever we are having contrary advance ruling from 2 different states, and tribunal is not formed 5 years gone, let's form and constitute national level advance ruling authority to resolve divergent ruling from 2 different advance ruling authority to different state advance ruling authority, and tribunal is the need of the hour. All the taxpayer cannot go and approach to the High Court and file a writ petition. It need to be looked into. And third aspect, we as a tax professional, we as a taxpayer must get the participation. Whenever they are making any law, whenever they are proposing anything new in the GST law, whenever they are making any amendment, why can't they take our participation? Let be the part of the deliberation what they are discussing indoor. Let it be open to the dedicated, maybe ICSI, one of the institute can represent on GST parameter alongside so many chamber of commerce like PSD chamber of commerce can also represent, and then we can really add values, because once we decide something jointly, then we create consensus, and consensus are really good for the good and simple tax.
Thank you so much, Vimalji. Over to you, Jatinji. 3 bullet points.
Sir, in addition to what Bimalji said, I will not repeat whatever he has said. Number one, rate rationalization. When I am saying rationalization, it doesn't mean the increase of the rate. I'm saying the reduction of the slabs. So many slabs are there. I'm not saying 4 or 5. Once I have counted, there were 44 total slabs, 44 different kind of rates were there in the GST if I include different cesses. So number one, reduction of the rates as far as possible. Number two, single interface is very important. As of now, state adjudication, state anti-evasion, state audit. Similarly, 3 wings of the center and then DGI. Total 7 wings are there which are watching and interacting with the taxpayers. So reduction in the this interface, that means single interface has to be there. Number 3, a grievance redressal cell has to be there, because now the way the adjudication, the other proceedings are going on, there has to be a grievance redressal cell so that a taxpayer will be able to make a suitable complaint or information about if there is any misconduct by the officers. I think these 3 will give some edge to the taxpayers and will contribute towards ease of doing business.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Sanjay ji.
Right, sir. So my first point is whatever is coming out from the recommendations of MSMEs, because if you see, so they often have a concern like, no doubt there is one nation, one tax, one market. Why the ITC of CGST should not be made to allow for payment of SGST or SGST for utilization of CGST? Because if you see in some cases, in case of MSEs, if you see, if one has to shell out utilization of output liability from CGST, despite of he's having enough balance in SGST, so it's like blockage of funds from him. So he's saying that when we have one nation, one tax, one market kind of a concept, so either it is CGST, SGST or IGST, anything can be allowed to be subset against anything. And second is, no doubt GST Council, 47 GST Council has come up with formation of various GOMs. So Council should also be made part to represent on various issues. No doubt one GOM is there for clarification of various amendments in CGST Act and rules. So we should be made part of same, or else government will keep on coming out with the amendments in finance budget also, finance bills also, or through finance budgets also. And another aspect is basically to do away with reversal of ITC for non-payment to vendors within a period of 180 days, because it's only a commercial aspect between buyer and supplier.
Thank you very much, Sanjay ji. Indeed, I think today's GST session on the GST day has paved a lot of new initiatives which we as an institute can take forward, which will help all the stakeholders, including the professional, including the corporates, and truly would resonate ease of doing business as well as ease of living so far as all are concerned. I would like to thank Bimal Jain ji for sparing his valuable time, and as all known that we always look forward for Bimal Jain ji's wisdom for the institute, as well as Jatin ji, as well as Sanjay ji, so that we can make proper representation to the institute. As a token of our appreciation, our affection, may I request the Secretariat to kindly display the Shahid Ki Beti certificate to Shri C.S. Bimal Jain ji. Alka ji, can you kindly display the Shahid Ki Beti certificate, please? It is not properly displayed. Yes. Bimal Jain ji, this is the certificate, Shahid Ki Beti certificate. As just for the information, this certificate, we are donating the funds to the martyrs' daughters. So all those money which is collected, rather than giving a memento, physical memento, we have thought fit, that the council has thought fit, that we will contribute to the martyrs of the daughters for the purpose of education. And till now we have contributed more than 25 lakhs to the Ministry of Defence, and we contribute on a regular basis once an amount of 5 lakh is being collected, and throughout India. So thank you very much for sharing the session, and you have brought up very, very important points on the various aspects: seamless flow of credit, contrary judgments to be avoided, tribunal need of an hour, as well as any new legislations or any new circulars. There should be a participative approach of all the stakeholders, and stakeholders are well in advance, are aware of what are the changes which even Jatinji had spoke about, that the stakeholders should be aware, and they would have already planned for many things before they would have already made a tax planning so far as all these things are concerned. You also spoke about the various amendments, especially 47th Council, with regards to the refund claim. 2 years will be excluded, 50, section 54, section 55. 1100 changes what you have suggested about, which has taken place till today. Biggest indirect tax reform which has taken place. Thank you so much, Bimal Jain ji. We look forward for your participation in future as well. May I now request our secretary to kindly display the Shahid Ki Beti certificate to Shri Jatin Harjaya ji, please. Yes, thank you very much, Jatin ji, for your participative in spite of your busy schedule and in spite of the fact that you have to face the problems with regard to the internet connectivity because of the state issue. I am sure that you had been very, very receptive, and you have given many points like rate rationalization, reduction of rate slabs, single interface, grievance redressal cell. I think grievance redressal cell is the call of the day, because we also as a professional face lot of problems when we are approaching the department over here in the GST. You spoke about the retrospective amendments which have taken place, and also quoted about our late finance minister, what he spoke about the retrospective amendment, stability on the tax laws, section 116 permitting the company secretaries to represent before the various authorities, as well as Article 265 of the Constitution. I think that is the most important thing which we as a professional, probably I think we may also quote when we are making our representation in terms of the various GST authorities, and also the landmark judgments what you spoke about, the Gujarat High Court, Madras High Court and the Karnataka High Court with regards to the forceful recovery. Thank you very much for your session, sir. I would like to also thank CS Sanjay Malhotra ji. May I request, yes, Sanjay Malhotra ji, you spoke on the excellent aspect right from the day one about the GST implementation which took place in 2007 till date, and you began with change is only the constant, and I'm sure that the changes which are going to take place, and especially more so when you talk about change, you spoke about the change in land use from industrial to commercial or commercial to XYZ, and by virtue of which whether it is possible for the government to ask for the taxation. You spoke about the MSME, the order of the day, because we are giving more flip to the MSME sector, and I'm sure that there may be many relaxation which will come. We also need to be part of the legislation, and I'm sure that the ministry ministry as well as the CBIC as well as they will come with various like suggestions or observations or comment from various stakeholders. I'm sure all the three learned professionals have given food for thought and food for knowledge so far as we all as professional is concerned, and I'm sure it will go a long way for the betterment of our professional, and more so those who are practicing in the profession of the company secretary in GST field. Thank you once again. I also wish to thank our secretariat, Alka ji, and her entire team, and also the technical support which is being extended by the ICSI. Needless to say, all the thanks to one and all the esteemed members of our profession, and I'm sure that the session which today has been organized by ICSI will be one of the biggest and the best so far as the knowledge session is concerned. Thank you very much. Looking forward for further webinar session series. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bimal ji. Thank you, Jatin ji. Thank you, Sanjay ji.
Bye. Have a good day.